This is going to be a little longer of a video. I'm working on a new ISO mainly because I wanted to fix a few things with Osmo BSE and BTS and its ability to call phone to phone due to the Osmo-MGW, so on and so forth. I'll explain it. And then I had quite a few people asking about YATE and YATEBTS, so I actually installed that last week along with Apache, PHP, and everything needed to run that. So I'll show that as well. But it's mainly going to be about cellular, and I'll just break it down. And anyways, so easiest thing is if you look in the user source, Osmo. I know I've talked about this before. The Osmo network in the box. So because Osmo network in the box and the newer Osmo that kind of has each component split apart is installed, I had to choose between the SIP connector between one or the other, and because the Osmo network in the box script has some pretty cool features, if you look at the JSON file that I talked about before, you can enable this down here, which will tie into asterisk, which is installed, and cause some mischief, I guess you could say, with the system automatically initiating calls to any phone that connects to this, I guess you might as well say, rogue BTS. So that all works. But the absolute simplest thing is if you come here to user source Osmo network in the box scripts, and I've shown this before, take a look at the help file or the options here. You can do a -u for the interaction, which the config file by default will initiate a text message out to anybody that connects. And I've explained that before. You can also enable GPRS and an interface, the interface on your laptop or desktop that's connected to the internet, and I've confirmed that works. You do have to set up the phone though, which I've explained before, for the data to actually work. So simplest thing here, if we just do a -u, you'll see I have a LimeSDR mini plugged in, and this is set up to only work with the LimeSDR, mainly because that's just the way the scripts are calling and working. And if left set here long enough, I've got as always, a Samsung Galaxy S4 and a S3 sitting here. Let's see. And the S3 connected, and I have the volume down, but it and there's the other phone connected, and there it gets a text, and you should be able to call phone to phone. Yep. Let's see. Test. All right. Okay. So that's Osmo network in the box, and you can activate the asterisk part of it, and you still will be able to call phone to phone. So that's the first way. Make sure you exit it, make sure everything shuts down so that it's not running. If you have a look in the temp folder, you're going to see this PCU BTS. I would say, and I'll explain why I removed that, because now we're going to go on to make sure, yeah. Okay. Now we're going to take a look at the system that is split apart, and what you need to know is, and I've shown this before, but this is what I've fixed here, was the Osmo-MGW for the split apart Osmo. That way it can call, the phones can call one to another. All right, so if we need to do, let's see, system CTL, we can do start, and we're going to start a few things, which is we're going to start the HLR service, the Osmo MGW, Osmo MSC, Osmo STP. Start all those. Okay, now let's see, we're going to telnet localhost, it might be 4258. Yeah, okay, so 4258. Now we're in the HLR. Go ahead and hit enable. What we want to do is add the, right here, we want to add the subscriber. And I'll try and make this quick. I've got apps on both phones. Looking for the IMSI. So we'll do subscriber IMSI create. Okay, we added it, and then we want to take that and we're going to assign it a number. We'll just do 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, remember that. We're going to do this again for the other phone. Now you'll notice that in the Osmo network in the box, just because of the way the scripts are and whatever it was, any phone can connect to it. This method, you got to add the IMSI. Oh. Let's see, 862. All right, we'll create that and we will give it a number. Do 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Now we'll open up probably like 3 windows. We'll change to the Osmocom directory on each one. We can do, we'll do Osmo, and because I have the LimeSDR in, I'll just use that. You could use an Edis radio. For this TRX-LMS, use a capital -C, and then we will call the lms.config file. We'll start that up. We will change to the Osmocom, go ahead and do Osmo BSC, do a little -C. That, you should see it, it'll say active and connecting, SIGTRAN connection successful. And last but not least, we will do the Osmo BTS, TRX, little -C, Osmo BTS. Yeah, so all goes well. You'll see everything's kind of separated here. Running. Let's see. Try and speed this up. Turn airplane mode on. All right, second one is registered, and so I should be able, now that this is fixed, call from one phone to another. All right. And all right, so that is fixed. So now you can see how you can use either or. The only thing is, because the SIP connector is set up for the network in the box, it's the integration with asterisk is not going to work in this new split apart thing. So just keep that in mind. All right. So that's two different means of GSM so far, and we'll go ahead and stop these services. Okay, unplug the unplug the LimeSDR for right now. We'll take a look at the BladeRF. BladeRF is plugged in. And I have an XA4, so I do not expect this to work, but if you have an XA9, X40, probably be fine. So take a look in the user source YATE folder, and before we even get started, I am going to load the FPGA with one of these that were packaged in with the YATE BTS that I pulled down and installed. So CLI, do the XA4, and so I'll load that FPGA. All right. If you want to use the nice web GUI, we need to start the Apache 2 service. If you pull open your web browser, oops, there you go. So you would so I've already kind of set this up. You would either enter subscribers by hand, like here. I was just testing this out and doing a blanket for my IMSIs that start with 310. You'd want to set the country code, which I already have. This will all be default when you install it, so meaning not filled out, so you'll have to put in your country code. I wasn't quite sure about the SMSC, so I just, so you'll have to fill these out. Country code, I put 1. SMSC, wasn't quite sure what to put there, so I just put an asterisk there. Your BTS configuration, you'll pick your band and your frequency. I raised the power max and minimum. Transceiver should be fine on here. You can select BladeRF, but this is only going to work with the BladeRF. Transceiver should be, default should be fine. And all right, so that is running. Then what you want to do is you'll just run YATE. And you can do, if you want a whole bunch of, you can do, make it more verbose as it's running. See, it starts up. And that's pretty much what you'll see. I'll go to the phone, I'll go to network operators, and if this works for the video, I will be truly amazed, but I highly doubt it. So you'll just have to try it out with an X40 or an XA9, and you'll probably be fine. So right now I'm on the phone, I'm just searching manually for networks. Sometimes I see it, sometimes I don't. I've had maybe a handful of times that I've actually been able to connect to it, and that seems to be the reoccurring theme with the XA4. So I see it, trying to register. I don't think it's going to be the case. I'll give it one chance. But this will be in there, and if you have some of that other equipment, test it out. Should work for you. All right, so it doesn't look like it's going to register for me. Okay. Anyways, that's in there, or will be in there when I put the new ISO out. Just make sure you're keeping track of if you start Apache or not, because of course that's going to take up port 80, and there's some other tools in here like GSM Evil 2 that I think just defaults to port 80. So just be aware of that. That's why I disabled a lot of this by default and left it up to you to start it. Okay, so that is that's YATE BTS. So that's 3 different ways to set up GSM networks with a multitude of different equipment. It could have been, well, BladeRF for YATE, or it could have been a LimeSDR or B210 or something for the Osmo BSE and the network in a box. So let's see, let's take the blade out. We're going to take a look at the B205 mini, which honestly has worked really well in almost everything I've thrown at it. And something else I want to include in the new ISO, let me think here. Let me point something else out. In the user source directory, you're going to see that there's SRS LTE 24.2, which is the only SRS LTE that's actually installed directly. So if you do anything SRS, you're getting the 20.04.2. The reason why you see the SRS LTE 18.12 is because I was trying to see if this LTE IMSI catcher works. There's a good chance it might. I might not have good signal where I'm at. So if you look in the SRS 18.12 build lib examples, you're going to see I've already got it built. I've already been messing with it. You'll want to take a look at the loopcatcher.sh, and you'll put some frequencies in for known cells that are near you, and you'll see I've kind of modified it. So really all you should have to do is run sudo /loopcatcher, and you'll see in my case it's loading the firmware in the FPGA for the B205 mini. Alright, so you'll see I'm just going to hit Control C because I'm going to bounce between the two. There is no 1850 15 megahertz in my area. There should be a 751 though, and you'll see I find a cell and it attempts to decode that, and you just need to look at the site. I'll put the links in the description. It kind of explains what these 4 different images should be looking like, which none of mine do, so maybe that's why it's not working in my case. What should happen is it should decode this and go in and pull out the IMSIs of those that are connected to that cell. So I'm just going to stop this here. I'm just showing you how to run it, test it out. Let me know if it works for you. You should be able to do this with a BladeRF and a LimeSDR. I just find that my antennas and the sensitivity of the B205mini works out really well. But you may find that the LimeSDR Mini and the BladeRF will run this as well. And you'll see when it writes those packets, they will end up in a process here where it goes from the PCAP, the PCAP text, and you can take a look at these, but ultimately I'm looking for this to be filled out. Would be great. All right, so let's back it up to the user source directory again. So that's 2 versions of SRS LTE right there. Now, the 3rd version would be the, and I'm not going to cover it here in this video because I've done a separate one on it, is in the Crocodile Hunter. And that is deep, down in there. There's that as well. Now another one, and I've shown it before, is the Falcon. And so I went ahead and built this. And if we change to the, and what I'll do is, let's see. Yeah, so I'll put a link, a shortcut to the GUI portion of this, but it can do a bunch of other things via command line. But if we look in the user source Falcon build source GUI, you will see we can run this GUI here, /GUI. And I was messing around with this earlier. You can turn on and off different options here that you want to see. And I already know that there was a cell on 742.5, cell ID of 191. And what Falcon is supposed to do is break down and show you how many active users are on that particular cell, and then you can kind of monitor the performance of it. So let's see, and this should work. Actually, I know in the past it has with LimeSDR. I actually used it. I don't know if, like right now, I don't know where I have the equipment's a little further away from the window, so I found that the B205 is able to pick up and decode this. So if I run it, I can see in the background what it's doing, searching for the cell. It finds it. I give it a second. Now it's breaking that down, and I can see real time how many users are on that cell and what kind of performance they're getting. So that's pretty interesting. You can run this over time and get statistics. So you can bump up the FPS limit. So that I'm going to include this as well. So you can use Crocodile Hunter to trying to think through this. You could use Crocodile Hunter that I've shown in the past to find and map out where different cells are and towers, and save that information over time. You could also zero in on a particular cell and see what its usage is. So I feel like there's a reason to tie those two together. All right, so we'll stop there. Close that. And let's see. I think that's pretty good. That's showing 3 different GSM setups and the fixes for that. The LTE IMSI catcher, and then Falcon. The only other thing would be, we've already shown in the past how to set up SRS LTE, both a base station and a client. So I think that's all I wanted to cover. If you stayed on this long, appreciate it. Let's see. Oh yeah, and I'll also link the newer GQRX, which I've built, and I'm just waiting for 2.13. I think it's 12 or .2 or 3, waiting for that to be finished, and I will include that as well. All right. Any questions? Ask in the comments. I'll put links to everything, and yeah, this is more of just a talking through all these different programs. There's a lot of different moving pieces in here, and hopefully it makes sense why I included everything and how I included it. And then, yeah, all right, thanks.